Good morning. Thanks for joining me again as we are praying the Psalms through the month of May. Today we're going to look at Psalm 25 on day 9. Let me read that for us as we begin. O Lord, I give my life to you. I trust in you, my God. Do not let me be disgraced or let my enemies rejoice in my defeat. No one who trusts in you will ever be disgraced, but disgrace comes to those who try to deceive others. Show me the right path, O Lord. Point out the road for me to follow. Lead me by your truth and teach me, for you are the God who saves me. All day long I put my hope in you. Remember, O Lord, your compassion and unfailing love, which you have shown from long ages past. Do not remember the rebellious sins of my youth. Remember me in the light of your unfailing love, for you are merciful. O Lord, the Lord is good and does what is right. He shows the proper path to those who go astray. He leads the humble in doing right, teaching them his way. The Lord leads with unfailing love and faithfulness all who keep his covenant and obey his demands. For the honor of your name, O Lord, forgive my many, many sins. Who are those who fear the Lord? He will show them the path they should choose. They will live in prosperity, and their children will inherit the land. The Lord is a friend to those who fear him. He teaches them his covenant. My eyes are always on the Lord, for he rescues me from the traps of my enemies. Turn to me and have mercy, for I am alone and in deep distress. My problems go from bad to worse. Oh, save me from them all. Feel my pain and see my trouble. Forgive all my sins. See how many enemies I have and how viciously they hate me. Protect me. Rescue my life from them. Do not let me be disgraced, for in you I take refuge. My integrity and honesty protect me, for I put my hope in you. O God, ransom Israel from all of its troubles. This is an interesting psalm. It's a little bit longer than some of the ones we've done already. But I think if you look at this psalm and just do the basic observations of who is God, what is he doing, what is the psalmist asking, what is he saying about himself, I think you'll find that this psalm is very relatable for us to pray. We see that he's in trouble. He's asking God for help, but he starts off by saying, I give my life to you. I trust in you. And he ends it with, I put my hope in you. So in the midst of him kind of describing his situation and the relationship he has with God, he's bookending that with putting his life in the hands of God. He's putting his hope, he's trusting God in all things. And I think that's a good way for us to pray, is to remember who God is on both sides of our prayers. I just did some basic observation when I read this, and I read it probably 4 or 5 times. The word that jumped off the page to me, and you'll see it multiple times, and maybe it did for you, but 4 times in this translation, is the word disgraced. We see it in the first couple of verses and then again at the end. And I just did a word study briefly looking up what that word would mean in this context and setting. And the word translates to ashamed, to not be ashamed. Just a dictionary search of ashamed, just to get a definition. We're talking about being embarrassed or guilty because of one's own actions. And he's asking God at the beginning to not let me be ashamed or embarrassed. Help me. No one who trusts in you will ever be ashamed or embarrassed for their own actions. But disgrace comes to those who try to deceive others. So the word disgrace, I thought, was interesting in here, kind of weaved in the beginning and then again at the end. But really, what made an impact for me in this psalm was just looking at what he says about God. He says God is merciful, God is compassionate, God is good, he's faithful, God forgives, God rescues, God's a friend, God teaches. Now, look at what he asks God to do. If you just go through and kind of take the I statements out of this text, he says this. He says, show me, lead me, teach me, turn to me, save me, forgive me, protect me, rescue me. And how often in our prayers are we praying for God to show us, to lead us, to teach us, to turn to us, to save us, to forgive us, to protect us, to rescue us? Because he already made the declaration that I give my life to you, I trust you, I put my hope in you. And then in verse 17, he says, my problems go from bad to worse. Like, my hope is in you, my life is in your hands, but my situation is not getting better. My circumstances that I'm in are not getting better. You are good. You are faithful. You forgive. You rescue. You're a friend. But I need you to relate to this situation. And he prays this in verse 18. Look at the words. He says, feel my pain and see my trouble. He's asking God to relate to him, to see and to feel the trouble that he's experiencing. And I think it's okay to ask God to do that. And then he turns that and says, forgive all my sins. So not only is he asking God to relate to him, then he's asking God to restore him, because we know that only God can offer forgiveness because of what Jesus has done for us. So I think in our prayer, and I'm just going to encourage you as you pray through this to find where you are in this and where do you need God. And when we experience trouble, do we ask him to relate because he's a relatable God? And then do we ask him to restore? And around that, we're putting our life in his hands, we're trusting him, and we're putting all of our hope in him. So I hope this helps you a little bit on Psalm 25, day 9. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. I will see you then. Have a great day.